Good morning, and welcome to today's lesson. I hope everyone is ready to learn today, and I can see that already our group chat is booming. Just for future reference, our class starts at 1 o'clock sharp, and I will only start teaching from 1 o'clock. You're more than welcome to hang around until I start teaching. I see Tyrese said he would watch TV until I get here. Well, I'm here now, and welcome. Today, we are going to be doing an English first additional language, focusing on grade 10. Our topic today is visual literacy cartoons, and I am your presenter, Miss PN Langa. I will be teaching you guys English for as long as I can. And stay tuned to the STEM Lockdown Digital School today for my lesson. I just want to know who is ready for today's lesson. Tyrese is ready for today's lesson. Lunam Asemahle, Lionheart is ready for today's lesson. Nelly's ready. I am also ready because I am going to be teaching you guys something awesome today. But before we get into it, okay, yeah, we're going to be doing some cartoons, right? As I mentioned, that's a picture of Madam and Eve, right? Before we get into it, as always, I just want to give a big shout out to these learners who submitted their work from yesterday. The first learner that submitted their work is Crystal Ice Queen. Thank you so much for submitting your work, Crystal Ice. The next one is Asemahle. I got your work via email. Thank you so much for submitting, Asemahle. And a very big shout out, and I think she's late again today, to Monica. Monica submitted her work yesterday. Her work was neat, well corrected. And you guys, Monica has been very, very, very consistent. She submitted work literally from the first day. So if you want to be like Monica and you want to get a special shout out, make sure that you submit your work every single day. All right. Who wants a shout out tomorrow? Can you guys still hear me? Just a yes or a no so I can move on if you can hear me. Okay, Levi can hear me. Tyler Kush can hear me. I say Mahle Musa can hear me. Yay, let's keep focused. So like I said, we're going to be doing cartoons today. And before we get into that, we're going to quickly recap on yesterday's work, right? Yesterday we did adverts, right? The general purpose of an advertisement is to sell something. And we also looked at how adverts increase sales, they create or maintain a brand identity, and they communicate a change in existing product line. They introduce a new product or a service. So we had a very successful lesson yesterday based on adverts. And today we're doing cartoons, very, very, very similar to adverts, right? And let's get right into our aims for the day. You will learn how to interpret cartoons. You will know the purpose of emotive language. You will know the aim of cartoons. You will know how to analyze a cartoon strip. So today we have very, very, very similar objectives as to the ones that we had yesterday based on on the advert. Only today we are doing a cartoon. So are you guys ready? Let's get into it. Okay. So what are cartoons? Who can tell me what cartoons are? Right, it seems today we are slow on the group chat. So I'm going to answer it for you guys. Our cartoons are animated characters. He says they are moving pictures. Lionheart says there are strips of animated characters. Well, everyone thinks cartoons are the animated characters we watch on TV, right? That's very, very correct. And on this specific slide, I have a little GIF from Mordecai and Rigby, right? And that's not the type, those are not the type of cartoons we'll be looking at. The next one is we have a GIF from Dragon Ball Z. Unfortunately, for those of you guys who thought we would be doing cartoons today like that, we're not doing those type of cartoons. Kamkhela, please check your computer connection because I think everyone else can hear me. Right. The other type of cartoon you guys think would be talking about today, uh, Tom and Jerry. But that's not the type of cartoon we'll be looking at today, even though these type of cartoons have very, very similar characteristics to cartoon strips. And someone earlier mentioned cartoon strips. Right, so let's get back to the questions. Right, what are cartoons? A cartoon is usually a humorous, drawn picture of a situation, well known personality, or story. Right. Cartoons are used to express ideas or to draw attention to a situation or well known personality. Cartoons are often highlight a current social or political issue. And here is an example of Madam and Eve. If you've ever gone through a magazine or a newspaper, you do come across a Madam and Eve cartoon strip, and usually you find those very, very, very hilarious. So let me show you guys an example of a cartoon, right? If you look at this cartoon, it is not similar to Dragon Ball Z or the regular show or Tom and Jerry. These are the type of cartoons you find behind magazines, in newspapers, on pamphlets, right? And these cartoons usually address occurring problems in different places of the country, etc. Yes, we call them comics, but not like a comic book. Vicky, you've seen this before. That's great. Um, we have on this cartoon a picture of someone in the TV, and it looks like Julius Malema because his lips are overly exaggerated, and he says, "I'm being targeted by forces of darkness." And we have two people sitting on the couch, and he says now he suspects Eskom. It's very, very, very funny because they are referring to Eskom as a force of darkness because we never ever used to have electricity. Very, very good one, right? If you look at this cartoon, you will also realize that the artist in this cartoon strip made sure that there are certain features that contribute to the meaning of the cartoon. It's very, very funny, Lionheart, very funny, Vicky. And because of this example, we can move on to the check myself activity, very similar to the one that we had yesterday. And we're going to do it together. All right. So let's start with the first one. Each drawing is called a frame. Is each drawing in a cartoon strip called a frame? Okay, everyone is saying true for that. It is true, but I also realize at this point that it could also be false because not all cartoon strips have frames. And I will explain to you guys exactly what a frame is later on. Let's look at number 2. Verbal clues refer to the dialogue that appear in speech bubbles or thought bubbles. Is that true or false? Right. Okay, everyone is saying false. Verbal clues are the words, and usually the words do go in the speech bubbles and the thought bubbles. So that one is also true, guys. So there's a lot you need to know. So we don't know much about cartoons as yet. Let's look at number 3. Body language refers to facial expressions and the positioning of the person in the cartoon. Yes, Lasidi, that is very true. Sorry, Vicky, if you were confused, we'll sort that out for you just now. Yes, number three is very, very true. We are given a lot of body language and facial expressions in cartoons that contribute to the message of the cartoon strip. So that one is true. And the last one, non-verbal clues indicate the mood and attitude of the cartoon character. That is okay. Lacetti saying false. Apocalypse says true. Vicky true. Tyler true. Vicky said false. It is true. So we do have a lot of confusion when it comes to this part of cartoon strips as well. And I'm going to be doing a lot of teaching today. So make sure that you listen and you listen carefully. Right. Let's go back to the slide. So, cartoons usually make use of humor to convey their message, right? So, usually when you read a cartoon strip, you will laugh after reading it. It's not often that you don't laugh unless you don't really get what the cartoon is trying to say. And the following elements always form a part of a successful cartoon strip. So, we have irony, we have parody, we have satire, stereotype, puns, caricature, and sarcasm. A lot of you guys would be looking at these words and thinking, what is going on here? We don't know any of these words. Don't worry, I've got you. Yes, Tyrese, I'm going to explain, and that's the first thing I'm going to talk about, the meaning of irony. Right. So, irony implies the opposite of what is said. Okay. So, the expression of one's meaning by using language that normally signifies the opposite. Right. So, I know that also sounds confusing, but irony is when you say one thing, but you mean the other. Right. So, if you look at the picture, it's a picture that has the words dead end in it, and you see a graveyard there. Usually, when you see a dead end, it means the street doesn't go any further than that. But in the specific picture, we have dead end, which means all of the dead people end up in this graveyard. Do you guys get it? So when you're saying we talk about a dead end here, we're not really talking about the dead end of a street. We're talking about a dead end where all of the dead people end up. Okay, and they say at the bottom, ironic. Just because it is doesn't mean you have to point it out. Okay, I'm glad you're finding that funny, Valessa. Let's move on to the next one, parody. So a parody is an imitation of a piece used to ridicule the original. So we all know McDonald's, right? So in this picture, we have a sign of McDonald's upside down and it says, wait, I'm gaining it. Right. And usually the McDonald's slogan would be McDonald's, I'm loving it. So this basically means that if you eat too much McDonald's, you will gain weight. Very, very funny. I found this one very funny. And that is called a parody. Let's move on to the next one, satire. Okay, so satire is sharp wit, irony, or sarcasm used to highlight, expose, or ridicule human or social political weakness. So, satire is when you use sharp humor to address problems that arise in society. So, if you look at the picture, this man we can call the government is having a very big meal on his own, right? And all of the other people at the bottom are the people under the government or the people in the economic cycle of whatever country or whatever, and they're only getting the crumbs, which means that the people in power always eat more than what they need, and the people of no power always receive the crumbs of the rich. So that is satire, right? We all get it. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. We all know this one. This is called stereotype, right? Tari says that tries to get a message across. That tries to get. Yes, the pictures really. I put the pictures in there so that you guys get an understanding of what the different element means. And if you still feel confused at the end of this, you can always ask me questions. Right. Let's look at stereotype. Stereotype, this is a fixed, exaggerated, and preconceived description of a specific type of person, group, or nation. So, for example, boys are stronger than girls. So that's stereotype. Or if you say, I don't know, girls are messier than boys or boys are messier than girls. That's stereotype because boys can be neater than girls or girls can be neater than boys. So saying that one person is a certain way is stereotypical. And if we look at the picture there, we always expect girls to play with dolls and doll houses, right? And boys to play with cars and bow and arrow or play rugby or airplanes or whatever. But they've swapped roles. They've swapped roles to prove that it's not fair to stereotype people, right? Because girls can play with cars, boys can play with dolls. It that you do. I'm not promoting that boys should play with dolls, but I'm just saying stereotype means that boys would play with cars only and girls would play with dolls, which is not a very smart way of thinking. Right, and then a pun. This is something that comes up most of the time. And a pun is a play on words. So they sound the same, but they have a different meaning. So, for example, if we look at the first picture, it says ice cream cone. Can you see? Is that an ice cream cone? No, it's not, but it's a screaming cone. Right. And then the next picture, these are very funny pictures. One of the peas in the pods has jumped out and he's saying, peas out. So the pea is out of the pod and it's saying, peace out. Yes, it's very funny, Tyrese, because it's dry humor. Yeah, Balisa's dead. I also found it very funny. Right, let's move on to the next one. A caricature. So, do you see the pictures that appear in cartoons? The pictures that look exactly like the person they are talking about? Remember the Julius Malema picture? Yes. A caricature is a drawing in which a person or action is shown with exaggerated features. Features are exaggerated to help with identification or to ridicule. So, for example, here we have two pictures here, Saris. We have Zuma and we have Robert Mugabe. Yes, so they've exaggerated their features. So, for example, Robert Mugabe's mustache area, right under his nose, um, that has been lengthened, and with Jacob Zuma, the head with the shower on top. Um, no, Lucidi, they're not illegal to draw. These are called a form of freedom of expression. And one of our biggest artists in South Africa is Zapiro. It's actually international. So they are not illegal whatsoever. Right. Let's move on to the next one and the last one. It's sarcasm. Sarcasm is very similar to irony. So when one thing is said, but another meaning is intended or interrupted. Sarcasm is intentionally done. So if you look at Patrick there, he says, "You're so hilarious. I'm dying of laughter." But is he dying of laughter? Does he mean what he's saying? No, he's not. Does he look like he's laughing? He's definitely not laughing. So he's being very, very sarcastic. Oh, Lionheart's dark Patrick. Because Patrick is usually very happy, right? So it's very odd to see Patrick say such things. But that's what sarcasm is. It's when you say one thing but you mean the other. Same with a pun, saying one thing but meaning another. Nelly's asking, ma'am, is using sarcasm bad? No, it's not, but it can be rude. So just think of where and when you're using your sarcasm, because some people can perceive it as rude, especially your parents. If they ask you a question and you answer them sarcastically, like, I don't know, maybe someone can give us an example, and then you answer them in a very rude way. That's not a nice way. But if you're using sarcasm in writing or with your friends and you're trying to be funny, then it's completely unacceptable. Oh, let's say this is the only one you found funny. Oh my word, I need to up my game next time. Yes, Lionheart, sarcasm can be very mean. Okay, so let's get back to this question, this very big question, because we were tackling one point of how cartoons can sound. Now we're looking at how cartoons look. Okay, so cartoons are usually identifiable by obvious features, and this helps the reader interpret the intended meaning of the cartoon. So these obvious features are frames, speech bubbles, and thought bubbles. Right, so the frame is the border around the picture. If you look at this cartoon strip that we have here with yesterday and today, we have frames that divide the different times and actions that happen in the cartoon. Yes, that's Dennis the Menace. And they say there it is not always necessary to have a frame. Usually, if one is omitted, it shows that the action is not restricted. Right. And then we have speech bubbles and thought bubbles. A speech bubble shows speech of the caricature in the cartoon. So the speech bubble in yellow, the one in yellow is a speech bubble. That's what we usually find in a cartoon strip. And a thought bubble is what we usually find. The difference is with the speech bubble, you are saying something, right? And a thought bubble shows the thoughts. So it shows you what the person is thinking, whereas a speech bubble shows you what the person is saying. Circle and cloud, yes. Okay, so a thought bubble is usually cloudy, and a speech bubble is a circle with a little cone at the bottom. Yeah, I know. I also thought it was a cloud, Lionheart. It's not a cloud. We don't call it a cloud. We call it a thought bubble. Does a thought bubble have to have pics? You can use pictures and thought bubbles instead of words. That would work out great, actually. So, for example, if a caricature is thinking of pizza, you could have the thought bubble with pizza in it. You understand? Or if you don't want to draw the picture, you could just write the word pizza. Then we would know that the caricature is thinking about pizza. Thank you, Vicky. What if it's zigzag? Well, usually, if it's a zigzag, that person is shouting, Levy. And I am going to come to that slide just now to explain to you guys the different types of bubbles that we can find. But zigzags are not something we see all the time, but usually when someone is shouting, they use a zigzag bubble. Zigzag bubble. What am I saying? But yeah, that sounds correct. The zigzag bubble. Right. So let's look at this quickly. When analyzing cartoons, you must look at the characters. Okay. Are they stereotypes or are they caricatures? You must look at the background and the setting. Where and when is the scene taking place? You must look at the language. Is it formal? Is it informal? And how are the sentences structured? You must look at punctuation, used to portray emotions. So punctuation is very important. Someone just mentioned when they are shouting, it looks pointy. Yes, Lionheart, when they are shouting, it does look pointy at times. And they are given an exclamation mark. Actions, yes, that's correct, Levy. Facial expressions falls under actions. So you look at facial expressions and symbols or lines used to portray movement and emotion. Then you have objectives, is the aim to inform, educate, or entertain. Body movement would refer to actions, Lionheart. Yes, you can use slang, and that falls under language, Lunam, because it says here, is the language formal or informal? So you can use slang, appropriate slang. Body language, Vicky, goes under actions. And like I was saying with objectives, what is the purpose of the cartoon? What message are you trying to bring across? Right, let's move on to this part, right? So when analyzing a cartoon, right, it's very, very, very important to look at the frame. How many frames do you have? In this cartoon, we have one frame, and we must look at the movements, right? Movement is indicated by vertical or curved lines, and we have that movement over there, which shows us how she swung her bat before hitting her piggy, right? Then the next one is speed. Action is indicated by streak lines or the action leaving the frame, and fonts are also changed for emphasis. So if you look at the speech bubble here, she has used all caps. She says, first you take my money, and now you're trying to kill me, right? Meaning that she's been giving her piggy bank all of her money. Very, very angry. He's been giving this piggy bank all of his money. And now this piggy bank wants to make her sick by giving her swine flu. Do you get it now? So that's why she's angry. She's angry that this piggy bank, or this pig rather, is going to give her swine flu because swine flu comes from pigs. I'm just saying, no, these comics are not for blind people. You just need to tap into your humorous side. You'll get them. Yes, Saris, it took a lot of brain power to figure this one out. So she's very, very upset because this pig, first of all, takes all of her money, and now that there's swine flu that comes from pigs, could potentially get her sick, but it can't give her swine flu. Yes, Vicky, it can't give her swine flu. She's just, I don't know. She's not being very smart. I think she's just trying to get all her money. She's trying to find an excuse to get all the money from the piggy bank. Yeah. Exaggeration, definitely, Levy. Let's move on to our next example, guys. Right, let's look at this cartoon strip. Right, we have a little boy there. Whap, whap, whap. Calvin, what are you doing to the coffee table? Calvin is blank, gives us a blank stare. Is this some sort of trick question or what? So this is a very, very, very funny comic strip. Okay, so let's look at the qualities. Yeah, I got this joke as well. Let's look at the qualities of this comic strip. The first one is he's happy, he's smiling, right? Because he is whacking all of those nails on the coffee table. Then the words whack, whack, whack indicates a very loud sound. Then in the second frame, we have her mom, or his mom rather, shouting. And remember the zigzag bubble? Yes. So the mother says, Calvin, what are you doing to the coffee table? Okay. So mom is hysterical. Her mouth and eyes are wide open, right? And the jagged speech bubbles, right, indicate that mom is shouting. Yes, Levi, she's stressed. Very, very stressed. She, that's mom, Vicky. It's not he. Onomatopoeia, we could say other words. Um, Onomatopoeia, other words, whap, whap, whap. Yes, Tyrese, onomatopoeia, other words, whap, 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 because that's a sound. Right. And then because his mom is shouting, he gives us a blank expression. And the asterisk at the top indicates a thought or confusion. So He's confused. He doesn't know what to say. And in the last frame, we have mom with her hand on her head. Yes, Lionheart, meaning, uh-oh. Then he asks the question. Is this some sort of trick question or what? Let me go back. Right. So the parent is asking, what are you doing to the coffee table? She can see what he's doing to the coffee table. She doesn't have to ask. She can see that he is whacking some nails in the coffee table. So, like, is it a trick question? Because you can see what I'm doing. Why are you asking me what I am doing? That's why he's a bit blank. Please don't do this at home. Right. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So, when commenting on cartoons, all answers need to be substantiated with close reference to the cartoon. And by that I mean, remember this big example we went through? Make sure that you point out all of the facial expressions, all of the things said when you are asked questions about specific frames in the cartoon. And I will give you guys an example question just now to go through so that you understand exactly how to answer questions based on cartoons. You must pay careful attention to the body language of the characters and refer to the visible features. So remember body language here. Let's start with the first frame. He is smiling, he's happy. In the second frame, when we look at body language, mom has her eyes wide open and her mouth wide open and her arms out, which means she's very shocked and she's running towards Calvin. Then in the third frame, Calvin has a very blank expression, meaning he is very confused. Then mom has her hand on her head to indicate that she is frustrated by what Calvin he is doing. She's very, very angry. I would be very angry too. Right. Let's look at the next one. And the last one says, remember that cartoons make use of puns, satire, sarcasm, and irony that need to be explained by referring to the cartoon. Right. Let's move on. So let's look at this cartoon strip quickly. So she says, woohoo! Thank goodness. Monday is a school holiday. How does she look if you look at her facial expression and her actions in the first frame? Who can tell me how she looks? She looks very, very happy, Vicky. She looks very excited. And we know she is happy because how do we know she's happy? How do we know she's happy, guys? What's the body language? She's smiling, yes. What's the other biggest body language? Her eyes are wide open. Well done, Libby. Balisa, her face is right there. Just look for it, you'll find it. Her arms are in the air. Well done, Lionheart. We know she's happy because eyes are wide open. She's smiling and her arms are in the air. Right, and then we have this granny looking at her and she says, anything to get out of boring homework. Huh? Right, so she's asking her if she would do anything to get out of boring homework. Lionheart doesn't want to give her a hug. She's just using the arms to show that she is happy. And that's what we look for, emotion evidence, right? And now we look at the grandma who has a blank stare. Does she seem happy about this? Granny is confused. Granny is happy for her. Granny is just giving her a blank stare because she's focused on her newspaper. Right. And now Granny asks her a question. Anything to get out of boring homework? Huh? So Granny has something up her sleeve and her facial expression changes. Right. Granny also has a snark grin on her face. Granny's not interested at all. Then she says, homework? Who cares about homework with all the violence this week? I don't want to get stabbed or shot. Her facial expression changes, right? It changes, right? She has a sad face and her eyes look droopy. Tyrese says this cartoon isn't that funny because it makes you think about the violence that's taking place. I'm very, very sorry about that, Tyrese. I'm very, very, very sorry if that's how it made you feel. Sorry, Vicky. Granny is scared because she says another day alive, alive. I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't think you guys would find this sad. Okay, let's quickly just move right along. Okay. But then if we look at this little squiggle, right, it shows that she has moved away from Granny. Okay, let's quickly do an activity together before we run out of time today. We have about 15 minutes left to do this activity together. I'm so sorry, guys, for that cartoon strip. If it made you feel uncomfortable, but I was just trying to show you guys the types of features that are used in cartoon strips. Okay, right. As always, please take out your piece of paper and pen for this activity. Once you have your piece of paper and pen, run back and say you're ready. Let's go. Get your piece of paper and pen. When you've got it, tell me you're ready. Lionhearts is ready. Posetto's ready. Joey is ready. Vicky ready. Lunam is ready. Palesa is ready. Vlonasir is ready. Okay, one more person and then we'll move on. Right, let's move on. Okay, let's look at classroom activity 1. It says analyzing. Karabo's ready. Thank you, Karabo. You're the one person I was waiting for at least. Everyone else will jump on the wagon once they're ready. Okay, Valone, sir. Okay, got it. Got it, Valone, sir. Right. So let's look at activity 1. Right? It says here we have 3 frames in this cartoon strip, right? Um, and in the first frame, we have 2 boys, right? The one boy has his eyes half open and he's carrying soda, right? Listening to the one boy who is speaking and he has his eyes open. He says, "What does LOL stand for?" Then in the second frame, the one with the can, with the yes, Lionheart, never ask your older brother what LOL means, right? And the one with the soda in his hand says, "Lots of love." Then the little boy looks shocked and he says, "Okay." In the last frame, he says, "Dear Grandma, I heard your pocket Millie died. All I can say is LOL." Poor, poor kid. Right. That one is a funny one. It's a funny one. And all he's trying to say is lots of love, not laughing out loud. So I'm going to give you guys about a minute to answer the 3 questions. Is everyone ready to answer the 3 questions? Okay, right. Start answering. And then when you're done answering, you'll send me done. Okay. Right. Answer the question quickly. Answer the 3 questions for me quickly so that we can move on to the next one. We don't have a lot of time left. Don't write down the answers in the group chat, please. Write down your answers on a piece of paper. Okay, so Karabo is done, Levi is done, Valone is done, Siposetu is done, Joey is done, Kamogelo is done, Tyler is done, Vicky is done, Kosimpile is done. Levi says, is there a pun, a play on words? Yes, there is a pun. Um, who can tell us what the pun is? Levi, what is the pun in this cartoon strip? Do you think you know? Lol, yes. LOL is a pun, right? So what he wants to say is lots of love. But now we all know LOL to be laughing out loud. So he's saying one thing when he is intending the other because his brother misled him. Right. Let's look at activity 2 quickly. Right. Here's activity 2. You will be answering the questions, discuss the effectiveness of this technique, and discuss the humor in the cartoon by making reference to both the visual and verbal elements. Let's look at this cartoon quickly, right? Garfield. Have you ever taken a good hard look at yourself, right? In frame 2, Garfield looks at the mirror. And then in frame 3, he says, I said, then cartoon, thought bubble, hang on. And he's still taking a good hard look at himself. Okay, that one is funny. So it says here in frame 2, the cartoonist uses a technique that is different from those used in frames 1 and 3. So frame 1 and 3, the cartoonist uses a speech bubble, uses speech bubbles and a thought bubble to actually tell us what is going on between the two characters or the two caricatures, right? Frame 2, no speech bubbles are used, right? Okay, so you must discuss why it's effective that he didn't use any speech bubbles or thought bubbles in frame 2. Why do you think he didn't use any thought bubbles in frame 2? Don't write it in the group, write it on your piece of paper. Why do you think he didn't use any thought bubbles or speech bubbles in frame 2? Okay, quickly, guys, we don't have a lot of time left. Write down your answer, Apocalypse. I'll give you corrections just now. Okay, Lionheart is done with that question. Okay, I'm still waiting for more people to come on board so I can give you corrections. Levi is done. Vicky is done. Therese is done. Garabo is done. Kosimpile done. Sposetu is done. Tyler Kush is done. Joey is done. Bumalelo is done. Right, it seems a lot of you guys are done. Right, awesome. Let's quickly do corrections. Let's look at this one. Right, take out a pencil or you can mark with your pen. Don't forget to take a picture of your answers and send them to me. I will share with you guys my email address just now. So, question 4.1.1. Refer to frame 1. What is the boy with the pencil doing? How do you know this? Okay, so the boy with the pencil is writing a letter. We know this because he has a piece of paper and a pencil out. He's writing a letter. Right. And then question 2 says, refer to frame 2. What does LOL really stand for? And we all know what LOL stands for. It stands for laughing out loud. And then the last one, explain why frame 3 is funny. Frame 3 is funny because he was asking what LOL stands for so he can write a letter to his grandmother. LOL does not mean lots of love. It means laughing out loud. Shame, and that's why it's funny. The big brother misled him. Right. Shame. The brother's mean. Yes, Tariq. The brother is mean. The brother also doesn't look very smart. I don't think the brother looks smart. So let's not say the brother's mean. Maybe he's not smart. Right. Let's move on to this one. Yeah, Lionheart, let's hope Granny doesn't know what LOL means. Okay, let's look at this one. This one was a bit tricky. But in this specific cartoon strip, right? Um, Garfield is having a talk with his owner, I would say, and the owner's asking him, "Have you ever taken a good look at yourself?" Meaning, do you know how you really behave? Right? Taking a good look at yourself doesn't really mean you're standing in the mirror and you are looking at yourself. What do we call that? You can tell me what that is. We just went through it now. Saying one thing but meaning the other. Have you taken a really good look at yourself? That doesn't really mean sarcasm. Sarcasm. Yes, sarcasm. Right. It could be irony, right? But not really. I would say it's more on the sarcasm side. So, have you ever taken a good look at yourself? And then he doesn't, Garfield doesn't answer. He looks at himself in the mirror. So, in the second frame, they don't use any speech bubbles or thought bubbles, right? Instead, they are showing us Garfield looking in the mirror and they are showing us Garfield's owner looking very, very, very confused at his action because that's not what he's really saying. And in the last frame, he tries to explain what he's trying to say, but Garfield doesn't want to listen and says, "Hang on." Did you guys get that? It's very, very tricky cartoon strip. If you didn't get this one, it's okay. There's always another time to try. Right. Garfield is very dangerous. Okay, guys, we've reached the end of our lesson. Okay, I want you guys to take a picture for me of your work, answered. Send it to me so I can give you a shout out tomorrow. You can email all of your answers to me at langa.pearl@gmail.com. I will send my email address right now to the group chat, langa.pearl@gmail.com. Okay, get it from the group chat. Please send me your answer. And remember, a cartoon is usually humorous, drawn picture of a situation. Cartoons are used to express ideas or draw attention to a situation. They often highlight a current or social political issue. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today. Make sure you tune in again tomorrow. We will be looking at writing and presenting a letter to the press. Thank you, Vicky. It's always very nice to teach you guys. Thank you so much, guys. Levi, Siposetu, Lunam. Thank you, guys. Thank you so, so much. You can reach me. You can reach us rather at www.africanteengeeks.co.za. You can reach me at langa.pearl@gmail.com. You can follow us at African Teen Geeks. You can follow me on Twitter at Pearl Ings. And you can check me out on Facebook, Pearl Pudding Langa. Lisette is asking what was he thinking? Hang on, was he saying it? He was thinking, hang on, Lisette. Thank you so much, guys. See you again at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Bye.